Name of narrator, Karl Allen. Name of interviewer, Robert Shumpert. This is Wednesday, October 25th at 12 o'clock in the Ruth Patrick Science Building. So I'd just like to start the interview by asking you, where did you grow up and, what was it like?
My dad was in the military for 20-something years, so I grew up all over. I was born in Spokane, Washington, but I've lived in Colorado, Kansas, Washington, Idaho,
Okay.
Oregon. I've lived all over the place.
So what was it like traveling around all that?
I got used to moving every 2 to 4 years and having to make new friends, and, it got to the point where, middle school, I'd just be like, are we moving again? Is it time to move yet? And then I realized, moving's not that common until I moved to Aiken. People are like, no, I've lived in this house since I was born. And I'm just like, wait, what?
All right. What are some memorable events from your childhood, post-high school, I guess?
After high school?
Or pre-high school, might be.
Pre-high school? Just moving and getting to see a lot of things a lot of kids my age never got to see. Before I was 18, I'd been to almost all 50 states and seen all kinds of stuff, and been to Canada, and it's not worldwide traveler, but
It's further than I've been. So.
yeah, especially living in Little Aiken, South Carolina, most people haven't been further than North Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit more about your family.
My dad was in the military, so we moved around a lot, and then my mom was a waitress, because you can't really have a career moving around that often,
Mm-hmm.
so she just worked part-time, or sometimes she didn't even work. But I got 2 sisters. One of them's a teacher, and one of them lives here in Aiken.
So what kind of activities and things were you involved in high school?
Really not too much. I just skateboarded all the time.
Mm-hmm.
In high school. I was a quiet kid. Didn't have a lot of confidence. Just kind of stuck myself in the small group of friends that I had, but for the most part, just really nothing. Just skateboarding and hanging out.
So did your dad being in the military have any effect on you wanting to enlist?
No, not necessarily. I was kind of against it, but it didn't make me want to enlist.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't want to enlist because I'm tired of moving around. I'm tired of this. I'm gonna have a normal lifestyle, and not this army lifestyle.
So why did you choose to enlist then?
My dad told me I either had to go to college or join the military or move out. So I was like, guess I'll join the military, because I don't want to go to college, and I didn't want to go to high school. So.
All right. So how did your friends and family feel about it? I guess you kind of already explained how your dad felt about it, but what about your sisters and your mother?
They thought it was best. I was kind of a troublemaker,
Mm-hmm.
And my maturity level wasn't really ready to go to college, so it was kind of a good thing, and they thought I was going to do better than if I just moved out on my own.
So you said on the pre-interview thing that you did your basic at Fort Jackson, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So what was that like?
I got there in July, so it was hot. It was real hot. So July, August, September, I left in September, but you can't go anywhere. You're not allowed to go to the store. Your friends can't come visit you.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in Fort Jackson. The scenery looks familiar, the shrubs and vegetation, because I'm used to seeing it. But it's just being stuck in the woods. So just isolated, except everybody you're there with.
So how do you think that basic training changed? Did it help you mature any, or how do you think that affected you?
It changed my idea of what was hard. So that's probably the biggest thing. And it showed me making money's not as easy as I thought it would be. I got my first paycheck. It was $350. I was just like, what in the world? I thought I was supposed to make more money in the real world. This looks like my Applebee's paycheck, because I worked at Applebee's in high school.
Okay. What are some memorable events from that period when you were going through basic?
Going through basic, just getting to shoot guns all the time. I tell a lot of people, basic training was just a mix of summer camp, except you just get yelled at, and you do a lot of push-ups, and you shoot a lot of guns, and you walk all over the place.
Okay. Let's see. So tell me about the different units that you served in after basic.
I was really only in one unit. I was in 159th Combat Aviation Brigade pretty much the whole time, with the exception of getting like picked to go work with other units, but just served that one unit.
Right,
And
so
what exactly was the question again? What was it like serving in those
Yeah,
units?
it was just what units to begin with, but that was my next question. So what was
Yeah.
it like serving with them?
It had its ups and downs. I tell a lot of people being in the, well, it's really in my job, like being in my job as a helicopter mechanic. So I tell people it's 90% of hurry up and wait, or just doing stuff that you just really don't want to do, and you're just like, I'd rather kick rocks than do this. And but then like 10% of the time makes up for the other 90% of the time, because you get to do stuff you never get to do. You get to go out and hang out the side of a helicopter and shoot guns, and
Yeah.
you get to go to the range and shoot grenade launchers and rocket launchers from time to time. So you get to do stuff that you just never get to do.
So you got to do that in like your free time, or is that like part of the actual job?
It's part of the actual job. It's part of the training, because you have to be qualified on certain weapons, and like being a helicopter mechanic, I didn't get to do a lot of like shooting weapons, but if there's like leftovers or just right place, right time, you get to shoot cool stuff.
Okay.
If you get to go out.
So you said on your pre-interview form that you were an E4 specialist, correct?
Yeah, I made it to E4, and E4 throughout the military is general. Like you have E1 through E9, but then each branch calls it different. So in the Army, it's a specialist,
Okay.
which we're not. I don't know why they call it a specialist, because you don't have to do anything to get there. Everybody's just a specialist. Like, what are you a specialist of? Like, nothing. I'm just a specialist.
All right. So you said also on the guide that form that you were stationed in Fort Campbell for a little bit.
Yeah, I spent my whole military career. I was in the military for 5 years. Like 2 years of that was spent training. So I spent a little bit of time in Virginia, but didn't really ever live there. Just kind of hung out there, got some knowledge, and then went to Fort Campbell. But I spent 4 years there, and then a year in Afghanistan.
So what were you doing in Fort Campbell?
Just being a helicopter mechanic, fixing helicopters, and day in, day out, and playing soldier.
So what was your job like while you were in Afghanistan? Was it still the helicopter mechanic?
For the most part, the coolest thing I got to do, they call it down aircraft recovery team. You go out on a DART mission is what they call it. But when I say that, people think like helicopter crashes. No, just the helicopter broke and they landed somewhere, and we had to go out and fix it. But I mean, it was fun. I mean, the job just got more intense over there, because the pilots fly a lot more. The helicopters are needed a lot more. You have a lot more of a budget to do a lot more flying over there, so you just work a lot more, like round the clock. Like, I mean, I've had 30-hour work days where you just kind of like go sit in a chair, take a nap, get back up, and start working again. It's just like you just got to go. But,
So what was your unit's job while you guys were over there, like overall?
mainly air support and chaperone other helicopters around, such as the Blackhawks and the Chinooks, because some places would be, what's the word, dangerous, hostile, and I was a Apache helicopter mechanic, so they'd have to take Apaches, take a gunship with them, just as protection. So pretty much just that. I mean, because our helicopter, you can't carry anybody in it. It's not a taxi. You can't lift things with it. It's just a gunship flying around, playing Overwatch, and mainly just using show of force. The Apache's really intimidating.
Yeah.
And a lot of people know that Apache has a lot of power, so as long as one of them are in the area, most people feel a lot more comfortable.
Did you ever find yourself in like an active combat situation while you were over there?
We got mortared and rocketed a couple times, and the closest it ever came, I was sitting in my room, and it was my night off because I work night shift, and I could hear I don't know, not necessarily shrapnel, but rocks and debris from the explosion where the rocket hitting the side of my room. And I was just like, I should probably go get in the bunker. So, but other than that, that was the closest to really anything that I saw. Like,
So what was it like in like Afghanistan? Like your barracks, like the quarters you were living in, the food?
the food, it was decent, but I'm pretty sure it's the same food the prison systems get, because like you see on the box, it'll say only for military or prison use on the boxes, and it's like, oh, like that's great. I mean, but for being in the middle of nowhere, like the food's good. Every Friday was surf and turf, so you get steak and lobster, which wasn't necessarily the greatest, but after a while that gets old. But I mean, our living situation, we lived in pretty much like a shipping container. It's about the size of a shipping container, and you had 2 people in there, and they tried to alternate you, so like one dude would be on night shift, one dude would be on day shift, and so that way you could have the room to yourself throughout the time instead of just constantly having a roommate. But Afghanistan in itself, the country itself is a really beautiful place, like especially in the spring when everything's blooming and all the flowers and all the colors around. And there's a lot of history throughout there. Like we had a pilot who was history buff, and he would show us like, hey, that's like ruins from Alexander the Great, and that's from like this era, and so like that's kind of cool. Like Afghanistan's kind of cool. It's kind of a shame that it's a war-torn country you can't necessarily visit, because if you could visit, I think it'd be a fun place to go, but just not right now.
Yeah. Did you have any interaction with the locals, or did they not really allow that?
Well, actually, so when I was over there, the mission was to win the hearts and minds of the local population. So we would hire the local population from the surrounding villages to come in and do stuff like bathroom cleanup, like pick trash up around the FOB, Fort Operating Base, which is just where we lived and stayed and hung out and kept everything. So they'd come in, and then we had ECP, entry control point, which is just like the main gate to come off on the secured area. So you'd work with them, and like one time we gave them an iPad, and like some of these guys didn't really know what the reflection looked like. Like they took the camera and they're just like, what? We're like, that's you? And they're like, no, like that's me. Like, yeah, that's you right there. Like, and like they just didn't know. And I mean, and they don't know a lot of stuff. They're not very well educated. So one guy, for example, his job was to take the trash bags out of the trash can and put them in a truck. Well, he would take all the trash out individually, hand by hand, and leave the old trash bag in there, and then put all the old trash in the new trash bag. So he'd reuse the same trash bag, but he'd take all the trash hand by hand, put it in, go to the next one, put it in, and we're just like, dude, just take the trash bag out and put the clean one in, and like just like, and he's just like, oh, I never thought about that.
So what were some of your memorable events while you were over there? Just like things that stick out to you still.
I mean, there's a lot. Like, I didn't know wild camels run in like huge herds of wild camels, and we were flying through Afghanistan, and I was just like, hey, like, what are all those black dots and stuff over there? And the pilot was like, oh, they're camels, they're herds of wild camels. So he got us a little bit closer, and sure enough, like, just camels for like as far as the eye can see, just everywhere, just huge wild camels. And I'm like, I thought camels would be like in like herds of like 9 or 10, not herds of like hundreds.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. A lot of cool stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff I don't know really what I can't say, what I can't say. So, but I mean, it was fun. It's like you get to learn a lot of stuff about yourself when you don't have electricity and running water. And like there's one time like there's no place to sleep, so in Kandahar I had to sleep on a park bench, and then like sewage like started coming up out of the ground through the drainage pipes because it got backed up. Like it's a third world country, so like it's not that nice of a place. So it's really eye opening. It's like, man, like there's a lot of things we take for granted back in America. Like I used to have to walk like quarter mile to get to the bathroom, and in the wintertime it's like -15, -20 degrees at night. Like you don't want to wake up and have to walk out there just to go to the bathroom. You're like, man, I really gotta go. Like, okay, I'm going. And then so like, I mean, like coming home, just being able to walk 10 feet to a bathroom, like it's like, man, I never would have thought like a 10-foot walk to the bathroom is something to be grateful for. So like just like learning stuff about yourself, like that's the cool stuff. That's what I really like about Afghanistan.
Okay. What did you guys do for fun over there, like in your free time?
Played a lot of cards, played a lot of poker, played, I mean, any card game you think of, we played it. Dominoes. We built on top of our offices. Our offices were built out of shipping containers. So we found some plywood and built a deck on top of the shipping containers and just out to nothingness, and put some AstroTurf on it and built a driving range. So we had our own little personal driving range out there. We built a little shooting range that we would take slingshots and like have target practice with slingshots. We played darts, just wrestling, just whatever. I mean, you gotta think you're with the same people day in and day out. Like my roommate, he's my roommate. We were on the same shift, So we slept at the same time, we went to work at the same time, we worked out at the same time, we ate at the same time. Like, I saw this dude all the time. And then, like, it just, like, so you're comfortable with everybody, and, like, you're probably more comfortable with those people than you are some of your own family.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you learn a lot about yourself when it comes to doing, like, free time stuff, because people are like, you guys wrestled? Like, yeah, we were bored. Like, we bought mats, and we put big mats on the ground, and you get mad at each other, like, we're going to the mats, like, let's wrestle right now. And we just started
So you were really close with the other guys that were like in your unit, or at least the ones that you worked
Yeah.
with regularly?
Well, there was only 7 of us. We were all on the same shift, which could be anywhere between 12 to 20-hour shifts.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, we played video games together. We watched movies. We ate together. Stuff going on back home, like that's your Dr. Phil. That's who you go talk to. And
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, dude, like, I just don't have nobody to talk to. And, like, sometimes, like, you'll lose internet for a couple days, or you'll be in places where you have no outside communication, and, like, you don't just want to, like, sit there and, like, be by yourself. So
Yeah.
you make friends with people you never thought you'd be friends with, which is kind of cool. But then, like, some of the people you get home, you're like, I'm never talking to you again. They're just like, I don't want to talk to you ever again either. Cool, the feeling's mutual.
So are there some people that you do still talk to?
Oh yeah, like, especially with Facebook and Instagram, like, it's
Mm-hmm.
so easy to keep up with people, and, like, I mean, I still, like, I go visit, I just went to one of my friend's weddings I was in the Army with, and there's one guy I see quite often. He lives in Texas, and he'll come and visit, but yeah, I talk to a lot of people.
Okay. So how has it been like transitioning out of the military?
That honestly probably took a good solid 3 years
Mm-hmm.
to kind of, like, transition out of the military completely, because when you're in the military, like, you have to go to all these classes, and they tell you, like, just because you look like this and you're in the military, like, people want to kill you, and people are trying to get you, so, like, you always have to, like, watch your back,
Mm-hmm.
and, like, you can't be complacent and stuff like that. And then, like, going to Afghanistan, like, they really drill in your head, like, hey, like, this is gonna happen, and, like, you have to, like, watch out. So, like, transitioning from, like, always being on your toes, like, hey, somebody might be trying to, like, get me, to just, like, hey, like, I can relax, and I can drink a beer, and I can go to a crowded place. Like, I didn't, like, going to, like, big crowds is still kind of trippy, but I mean, I can do it. But I used to, like, go to, like Six Flags and just, like, freeze up, just be like, okay, like, I'm ready to go. Like, I just want to get out of here.
So how long was it in between you getting out of the military before you decided to go to college?
3 years.
Okay.
So 2.5, 3 years.
Why did you decide to come to USC Aiken?
I kind of grew up in Aiken. We moved here when I was 13, 14 years old. So this is where I did 8th grade here, and then all through high school. So this is where all my friends are. Like, these are where, like,
Mhm.
all my growing up memories are. So I moved here when I got out of the Army, left, got divorced, and then moved back. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to stay here. There's a good school here, and I had talked to other people who had used their benefit here, and they
Mhm.
said they really liked this school and using their benefits here. And it's cheap. Aiken's a cheap place to live in.
Yeah.
So that's the big contributing factor, just the cost of living.
So do you like your college?
Yeah. I mean, the college I like the small classes. Like, I talked to somebody who goes to USCA, and they're taking the same chemistry I am, and they said there's like 500 kids in their chemistry
Mhm.
class, and I'm just like, how do you talk to the teacher? He's like, you don't. He's like, if you need help, and he's like, you have to find help somewhere else. And then, like, my chemistry teacher here, like, I just knock on the door, like, hey, can you help me with some stuff? She's like, yeah, come on in, and it's real personable. A lot of nice people here. It's not so big that it's just overwhelming.
Okay. So what would you say like your favorite like part about the college is?
Ooh. There's a lot of good parts. I mean, really just like how smooth it is to use my benefits, because I tried to apply at a college in Portland, and like here, like USCA has an actual office for veterans to use and get assistance with, and then but Portland, they were just like, no, just call this number, and it's some random person that's not really even affiliated with the school, and ask them on for advice and stuff like that. But here, like, all I had to do is show up, and they're like, here, do this, do this, do this, do this. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, you got me all squared away.
So you said on the pre-interview form that you wanted to like start a chain of restaurants or just open up some restaurants after you got out of school?
That'd be my plan. I'd like to open up restaurants, get into commercial real estate.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a buddy that I worked with when I lived in Idaho, and by the time he was 34 years old, he's clearing $700,000 a year, just opening restaurants and selling restaurants. But he also had other businesses. Like, he's legit entrepreneur. But I'm like, man, even if I could clear like $150,000 a year opening and selling restaurants, like that'd still be a good.
You're a business major?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to school for.
So what kind of classes do you have to take for that?
Well, only being a sophomore, I haven't really taken any business classes. I'm just getting all my gen eds knocked out,
Mm-hmm.
and like I haven't really taken any specific classes other than like intro to business systems, which is just using Microsoft Excel, and that's probably like the most specific class I've used. But it's just like a basic, rudimentary class on Excel, so it's not even
Mm-hmm.
that specific to the business major. So as far as like business classes, I'm not exactly sure because I haven't made it that far.
Okay. So do you have a specific like chain of restaurants you want to get involved with, or is it just like any restaurant in general?
Living in Portland for a little bit, I like the small mom and pops restaurants that make really good food. I'm not talking like, I don't like the commercial restaurants like Red
Okay.
Robin, Chili's. Like, I want the places that people go to because they know the chef is going to consistently make good food, and it's not like, oh, like we'll go to there because like we know it's good and they have restaurants all over the place.
So it's like the kind of family-owned businesses that like the local people would know really well.
Yeah, and just like, and like even watching the Food Channel, like in those types of shows and stuff,
Mhm.
and you see, you don't see like Red Robin winning awards and
Yeah.
and stuff like that. You see like the people who make their food from scratch and start from the beginning, winning like food awards and Michelin stars and stuff like that.
All right. Is there anything else that you'd like to say about yourself, about your experiences in the military before we wrap this up?
Not that I can really think of.
All right. Well, thank you for taking time out of your day for this interview.
No problem. Thank you. So thanks for having me.
You're welcome.